Hello, everyone. Welcome to Textiles and Tea with the Handweavers Guild of America. I'm Kathy Group. I am your host today. We want to thank our sponsor. It is the students of Joyce Robards Weaving and Fiber Arts Center in Rochester, New York. So nice of you guys to sponsor her. I think we're all going to find out why the students love Joyce. She sounds like she's a very special teacher and they think the world of her. So thank you all you students out there of Joyce, and I'm sure she appreciates it also. So we're going to have questions at the end as always. Please put them in the Q&A. If they're in the chat, I can't always see them, but we like your comments. So keep putting those in there, but put your questions in the Q&A. Today, we do have Joyce with us. She has been a weaver textile artist for more than 50 years and a member of the Weavers Guild of Rochester, New York, the Handweavers Guild of America for almost that long. She says she has served various capacities in both groups, and she is proud of her role in finding the Weaving Guilds of Rochester Weaving and Fiber Arts Center. And we're going to talk some about that because it's a pretty interesting thing what they did. She currently teaches 4 studio weaving classes a week and occasional classes in many other textiles techniques. She's an art teacher prior to discovering textiles in 2016 Handwoven Magazine Teacher of the Year. We're going to talk some about that too. She has also won awards from HGA and Complex Weavers, and her work has been included in Knitters Magazine, the Weaver's Book of 8 Shaft Patterns, Weaving Lives at 75, and the Complex Weavers Journal. Hi, Joyce.
Hi, Kathy.
How are you?
I'm good.
We are so excited to have you here.
Well, I'm happy to be here.
We're going to learn all about you today. Let's start with the important question. What is your favorite tea?
Well, I've been drinking tea as my favorite beverage since high school, so I've gone through various stages from constant comment to as a college sophomore, junior art student wearing all black, drinking lapsang souchong and eating lox and bagels, uh, to now pretty much switching back between Lady Grey and Bengal Spice. And today, Bengal Spice, in honor of the weaver, Barb Decker, who introduced me to it. And I was enchanted that Bengal Spice was also Bonnie Inouye's choice of tea. So I feel I'm with good company, even if all I have is my tea and you.
I love Bengal Spice. I mean, I have to go to Amazon and buy it, like 4 or 5 boxes at a time because our store doesn't stock it. So we like our tea.
Yes.
Well, how did you get started in weaving? I know there's a whole story with this, so I can't wait to hear.
It is a long story because I'm old enough that it would just have to be long, but started quite young. I must have been at least 6 or 7 because I do remember my younger sister had been born, but I did an embroidery, fabrics stretched on a hoop and threaded needle and did some design of some sort that I was excited about. I don't know if proud is the right word. I don't remember that. But I did show it to my grandmother, who I knew very not well, didn't see often, was sort of intimidated by her, and was proud enough to show her my work. And she glanced at it, turned it over, and said, "The back should look as good as the front," and handed it back to me.
Ouch.
So I guess at that point I decided I had a lot to learn, and that was the beginning of the story. Didn't learn to knit until I was in high school, but by then I had already been sewing. My mother made quite a few of the clothes for her 3 daughters, but more from choice for me than from any kind of necessity. I just was I don't know, stubborn enough, independent enough. I wanted what I wanted, and so I made it. And that started around 6th grade, and that continued for most of my life. And then in college, just knit some and when I graduated and was teaching full time. It was more knitting than anything else I did, although still some sewing. My uh, intended, my husband, man who turned out to be my husband, would call in the morning on Saturday and say, "Want to go dancing tonight?" And I'd look in my closet and go to the store and buy some clothes and make a dress. It was A-line, in those days. So three seams, two sides, and a back zipper.
And that's more than some of us can do. So, well, you you are on a fiber journey because it seems that you started, I'm trying to make sure I say this right. You started with taking a sabbatical, right? And while you were on that sabbatical, you found weaving?
Well, I had been doing textiles, most of my life, as I just said, or was used to having yarn and thread in my hand. And I taught junior high art uh, after a very brief interval when I thought I might learn to teach math, but that's a whole nother story we might get into a little bit later. Uh, but when I decided it was going to be art that I was going to be teaching, uh, I just did things that had to do with what I could do with students in classroom. And I had what's now, I guess, called middle school, junior high when I was
Mhm.
teaching it, seventh and eighth graders primarily. And at that age, they need to use their hands and do things with their physical as well as intellectual. And I had no background formally in textiles and did not know how to weave. Had been through Nell Zamorowski's step-by-step weaving book on my own and loved it, but was not satisfied with the product I got as cloth, as really weaving. I know now what it was and what I was doing wrong, but I didn't then. And so when the chance came to have somebody else subsidize me to continue my learning, I needed to do something that I could use in class. And I had experience in quite a few other crafts, but no real training in textiles and weaving. And I knew the kids would enjoy it. So I thought, well, I better learn a better way to do it than these rickety picture frames. And so I went to
Well,
RIT.
were there a
For
variety?
American Craftsmen.
Were there a variety of things you could have taken and you chose weaving? I mean,
Beg
could you have
pardon?
taken like printmaking or something like that, but you chose weaving?
I chose, yeah, I chose weaving because I had done most of the other stuff. Sounds
Oh,
arrogant to say, but as an undergraduate, I had sampled enough and done enough of the other things I was teaching,
uh-huh.
but I hadn't sampled that, and it was something I already liked doing. So weaving
Well,
it
thank
was,
goodness. Good for us.
yeah.
So, when you're weaving, what do you think's more important to you? Do you think it's color or pattern? And has this changed over time? Because, you know, you've been weaving, a few years.
It depends on more on what my starting point is. If I start out with colorful yarn, a dyed warp or something, then it's the color I want to emphasize. But if I'm learning a structure, doing it the first time myself, or I want to
Mhm.
make teaching samples to show people what some of the possibilities are, I don't want the color to be distracting too much from the structure. So I'm going to go with something where they don't look at it and say, oh, what gorgeous colors, and not look at the thread. I want them to look at where the thread is going. And so if it's the weave structure that's attracting me to the project, if I'm saying, oh my God, these snowflake twills are gorgeous. Look at the way this light just moves around. I want a shiny surface that the light will move around on, but I maybe don't want a lot of color.
Is it
So
hard to get new
it's
weavers?
where I start and how I feel that day.
You're flexible.
Uh, to a fault.
Is it hard to get new weavers to understand color versus pattern and how they can conflict?
I don't think so. And I'm not even sure that I'm happy with the term pattern because to me that's part of the visual of
Mhm.
it, whereas the underlying structure may really not show up a lot, but it's making the cloth be what it is.
Right, right, right.
So no, I don't have that problem, or I don't think I do. I think some of my students are listening. They can tune in later and say whether they understand the relationship between them or not.
Oh, yeah, we've already got some of your students saying they're here.
Oh,
One says she's a groupie. Um, one of the things I was curious about is um, when you're teaching, you're talking about making samples. When you're teaching, you got to make lots of samples.
yeah.
So, and I'm sure you spend a lot of time preparing for your classes and making sure you have the samples and everything. So, when you're able just to weave for you, it's going to be just your thing. What do you go to? What's your go to? What do you want to do? What do you want to spend your time doing?
Well, the image that you're showing here is maybe a little misleading. All of the weaving I do because I want to do it.
Right.
But I don't like get assigned a class and then say, oh, I've got to make samples for it. I've already made the samples because I'm in the extraordinarily lucky position of not having to teach if I don't want to and being able to choose what I teach when I want to. So I've already got most of the samples done before I propose teaching the class. So I've done them all because I want to do them. But I put this little guy up because it has very little to do with any of the classes I teach. And it just amused me so much to do it that I thought, well, this is one I really did for myself. I chuckled all the way through it, sort of wryly, I guess. Uh, I live in central western New York State, and there's a lot of winter. It comes twice a year here. At the beginning of the year, it's winter. At the end of the year, it's winter. And it just lasts forever. And you use a lot of heating, and you get a lot of snow and rain and gray skies. And I was just learning. Oh, I'm seeing some of the people tuning in. I shouldn't be seeing those, shouldn't look at them. Hi, folks. Uh, but had just done a class or was doing a class on clasped wefts, which is so much harder to say than do. And I really thought, oh, this is fun. And look, I can make it look like it was a real tapestry. I've got all these little tapestry techniques in, but I don't have any of the picky little tapestry work to do. It's just back and forth with one shuttle, not even two, with one shuttle. And as I did it, it was winter and I had just paid my gas and electric check. And the bill had barcodes as to how much gas I used according to the weather, a little chart with gray lines going up and down. And there it was on my loom, little gray lines going up and down. So I have winter snow and dark gray skies, and I have rain kind of coming down and more dense precipitation up at the top, and it's sort of like clouds. And it's certainly not a literal uh, image of my winter, but I look at it and half laugh and think, oh my God, it's hard to keep a house warm in Rochester.
I love that. And it's so funny when you tell the story, it really kind of shifts how I view it.
Yeah.
It's a great story. Well, you have a wonderful approach to teaching. I heard you talk about it. I read that when you were talking about it. Uh, you said that you don't start with what you're going to teach, that you start with who you're going to teach. Can you expand on that?
Well, I hadn't thought of it that way until I got your question. Your questions are wonderful. It's like, oh, did I really do that? And why did I do that? And that was one of the questions. It gave me a chance to say, don't ask me that. But I thought, I wonder what I'm going to say. So we left it there. And I've given it a lot of thought. And I think it's because I do know that I remembered best, I learned best, I enjoyed learning uh, from teachers who made at least personal eye contact with me, with whom I felt a one-to-one relationship in a large group, not being picked out as teacher's pet or that sort of thing, but just feeling a connection that they somehow knew what I was about and what they were talking about was stuff that I could enjoy, I could use, I could do something with. And since, as I just said, I only teach what I want to teach, I didn't have to pay a lot of attention or don't as to the content. I know what I'm going to cover in the content, so I don't really start there anymore because it's sort of prepackaged already. And I concentrate on how I think the individuals in the class can use it. And it's pretty, shows up pretty quick, uh, who wants to understand it down to the bones and start from the bottom and work it up, and who says, no, let's get on with this. I want to make this blanket. And then when I talk to them individually, approach it from what seems to be their position.
Absolutely. I think yeah, that's exactly what I got out of that article or the interview with you was that you really look and see, who they are and how they learn and what they want, rather than just doing a blanket, this is what we're all going to do right now. And I thought I would love to be in a class like that.
Yeah, and I thought too, when I was teaching art, seventh grade level, New York State at that time did not have a official syllabus. So I got to teach pretty much what I wanted to teach. I mean, but it wasn't like you have to have so many days of this and you've got to include that. And the controls were getting tighter and tighter. One year I was expected to write a individual evaluation for each of my students. And since I was the only art teacher in the building and there were 600 students, that meant a lot of evaluations. And I talked to my principal about what really was expected of me. And he said, well, how are we going to judge if your classes are successful if you don't have something to show how the student has improved? And I just thought about it for a second, and I wasn't teaching them to be artists. I was teaching them to be, to appreciate art and to look at the bigger picture and how they fit into it, which is what I'm doing in my weaving classes now. What is the bigger textile picture? How do you fit into it? But what I said to him was just, call them back in 10 years and ask them what they remember. And
I bet he loved that idea.
actually, he did. He just
Oh,
laughed and said, go and do whatever you're going to do, which is what he usually did with me anyway. But I sort of feel that way with my students now. It's not, what did you learn today? But it's, what are you sharing with people? What are you passing on? What are you enjoying? Uh, that's how I judge what they're learning.
well, my next question kind of goes into that. And you may have just answered it, but I'm going to ask it anyway. It's like
Yeah.
and I have to say that I am a baby teacher. I've just taught a little bit. So a lot of these questions I'm thinking about when I was teaching, I would be driving home at the end of the night, right? Thinking about
Mhm.
class. And some nights it's like, oh, what a disaster. Oh, that was pretty good. But when you're driving home, what makes you think, oh, that was a successful class? Or what would that look like to you? Maybe not 10 years down the road, but at the end of the night, what makes a successful class for you?
Uh, Well, I got a kick out of that question too, because my first reading of it was, what do you think about when you get in the car after a successful class? And I thought, well, if the class isn't successful, I'm still thinking about the class. If it is successful, I'm thinking, Lord, did I remember to bring my grocery list with me? Because I can relax about it,
Yeah.
at least for a while. But I don't think that's the intent of the question. I And you do say, is it more a feel or a look? And it's some of both. Later, you'll be showing a slide of the Weaving Center. And it's a successful class to me, or I know it is, if when I'm there, I look around and there are all those looms and people are working and there's just a nice steady sound of looms working. And there's kind of a subflow of maybe two people over by the bobbin winder uh, talking about where they got their yarn, or somebody is using our library, which is wonderful, and somebody else is approaching me with a pencil in their hand saying, I know you always want a pencil and a cup of coffee when I ask you a question, so I've got a question. Do you have time to talk with me? And that's my idea of a successful class.
There you go. I like that. Um, you don't just teach the basics, and somebody has already brought up Stubininski. So, I mean, you teach beginning, but you also teach more advanced thing like the Stubininski code. Um, so I'm curious, how do you learn? Are you one of those people that you can open the book and read it and figure it out? Would you rather take a class, be around other people, having feedback? How do you learn?
I'm definitely a visual learner that quite frequently people will say, well, I've got this book and would you explain what this means? And I say, oh, I only looked at the pictures because that's just the way my brain works. But I certainly learn through my hands by doing. So if it's a book that is my going to have to be my source material, uh, I'm going to try out what's in the book and actually do the things to make sure I understand them. Uh, Far prefer being with a live teacher who can show me things. Uh, Hard question because I think I kind of put everything that I see and do together and learn from how it all mixes up in my head. But visual, definitely a visual learner. Can learn from printed books, but wish they had more pictures than words. Am vaguely annoyed by Peter Collingwood's books because sometimes I just want to shake him a little. I only met him once or twice, but shake him a little and say, oh, Peter, get on with it. Just tell me how to do this, not the everything. I can't absorb this much at once. I don't need all this at once. Just simplify it a little bit. But I keep going back again and again and again to fill in the things that I wanted to skip over in the first place.
You
Uh,
got a lot of people agree with you. Me too. I mean, it's hard for me to, that much reading just fries my brain. So I can
yeah,
understand.
but it's so wonderful.
Oh, it
I mean,
is,
it's
but it's,
all there.
yeah,
I guess it's because he makes me work so hard to find it.
that's right.
So I try not to do that. And that is something I think I really have to work at sometimes, that I try to give too much too fast.
Mm.
But it's just
You have,
all so good.
no. You have some beautiful scarves behind you, and two of them I know are dyed. So you're a dyer.
Hmm.
Why dyeing? Why is dyeing important to you?
Well, for a very long time, I asked myself that too. Probably the first, 20, 25 years I was working seriously with textiles, I was like asked frequently, why didn't I dye and so forth. And I, at that point, hadn't felt the need. I was able to find enough colors to do what I wanted to do without dyeing. And I'm not sure which of the two events really hooked me on it. It may have been the work of Catherine Ellis
Uh,
when she won an award for her loom controlled shibori at a convergence. I remember walking past a large hanging piece that took my breath away and like, how did they do that? And my guild is just wonderful at bringing people in, and she came and did a workshop for us. But it was like, I want to learn to control color that
mm,
way. I want to make colors move the way that cloth moves colors. And the other, I think, was purely uh, kind of practical. The Weaving Center was just getting started at that time, and I had a lot of students who were also dying, we did have a woman who came, very good teacher, good dressmaker and dyer, did a lot of fashion work, and also did some other types of shibori, clamp and itajimi and so forth. And some of my students were just enchanted with the classes they were taking from her, Jane Bartlett, for those of you who are local. And she was teaching a class that I guess wasn't fully subscribed, and we needed another body to get enough income to make the class run. And I said, oh, well, everybody else likes it. So I took it and I mean, just hooked. It wasn't as messy and dirty as I thought it was. I never liked clay. I think part
mm,
of my attraction to textiles was it wasn't sloppy. I mean, messy maybe, but not
yeah.
sloppy.
Yep.
And clay is sloppy to work with, and dyes can get pretty sloppy to work with. And that just didn't turn me on. But once I saw what other people could do and what I could do, well, those glorious, glorious colors. I mean, one of my fantasies is just like being enveloped, like taking a shower in color and nothing else. I don't mean like colored water. I don't mean like, I don't know, but just feeling colors like some people do. They say they see a number and they see a color, that sort of thing. I think, what must that be like? And playing with dyes is as close to that as I can get. Just messing around and having the color there.
Well, I want to talk to you about your guild because you're really active in the guild, the Weavers Guild of Rochester. Why is a guild and that guild in particular important to you?
Uh, Two, I think, almost equal uh, general reasons of community, sense of continuity. Uh, Took a workshop or a seminar actually with Randy Darwall once, and
Wow.
from that uh, seminar, which was a very small group, picked up on a sense of responsibility in continuing textiles, how many people had gone before and what they did, and I wouldn't have it if they hadn't, and the next couple generations won't have it if I don't give it to them or help give it to them.
Hmm.
And so the whole community of people sharing and working with historical things, some and others looking more forward, cutting edge, and doing new techniques. It was just that general sense of community, and then of course specific friendships. Friends with, I can only think of one or two, thank God, uh, guild members that we didn't have a friendly relationship. A couple of adversarial, but not many, most having to do with the Weaving Center. Uh, but just friends and some very, very good friends. And the others, of course, well, maybe not, of course, but the other is education.
Mm.
Uh, Rochester Guild has a long tradition of really bringing in for guild workshops and guild programs the current and the best. Uh, that if I were still doing the tour teaching and Rochester invited me, I would look at that as an honor that a guild that sophisticated and that knowledgeable thought I had something to give them. So we had study groups that you learn from your peers, and we had outside speakers coming in giving programs and workshops. And I had one extraordinary experience that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't met this particular weaver through the guild. But when I was a relatively new member, a senior member, an older woman, excellent weaver, who was planning to close up her house and move when her husband retired, stood up in the guild meeting one day and said, I need help moving all this and sorting through all this. Will anybody help me? And she lived about 8 miles from me, but on the right side of the river. She was a West Sider. Uh, and it seemed like a long distance for anybody else to travel, I guess, or I don't know why nobody else volunteered. But I thought, well, I young enough was then. I can help move boxes and things. And her name was Elizabeth Trelaw, and first day I came, she said, well, we'll tackle this room today. I think this drawer has all summer and winter in it. So if you just go through and anything that isn't summer and winter, pull out, and any duplicates you can have if you want them. And I guess that's it. And then she went down in another room and did something else. And summer and winter, I was okay. I could tell pretty much. But as the weeks went on, this big farmhouse and drawer after drawer and room after room of stuff, if I didn't know what it was, I had to ask. And it was a one-on-one tutorial with an extraordinary teacher and weaver. And that never would have happened if I hadn't been a guild member. And I'm thinking I need to do that now. I need to say, who will come and help me sort? Has to be somebody who will take home all the duplicates, which will pretty much fill up a home for them.
I'm waiting for people to start saying, me.
Yeah.
Well, I heard about your Fiber Art Center, the Weaving and Fiber Art Center, a few years ago, and I just thought it was brilliant because it's in a mall, right? Or a shopping area.
Yes, it's in one of those arrangements where an old factory is turned into retail use. So the first floor of the Piano Works, which was the largest and best piano manufacturing center, I think, in the United States, but certainly in New York State at one point, folded. The space was renovated into retail spots. We didn't start out there. It was a big step up when we moved from uh, downtown Rochester, where we had a studio apartment, or actually two studio apartments as teaching spaces. But we had graduated, we had enough funds and enough work and enough research of people constantly looking for a place to be that we were able to move out to the to that particular mall, if you will. And the space that you see on the right is our current space. It's our second area at Piano Works Mall in East Rochester. And that's half of our room, half of one of our
Wow.
two rooms. We have about 50 floor looms that we use for our once a week general weaving studio classes. Another, I guess, 5 or 6 for the uh, beginning, more structured weaving classes, and a whole bunch of table looms for other classes. So we're pretty big. It's a great place to be, good parking, easily accessible. by expressways and so forth. So, yeah, come join us.
And you were on the beginning of that. You helped find the space, or you were on a committee to help that
Well,
happen?
actually, by the time we got there, I was not involved in finding the space. That other people working on the committee, and we have a wonderful group of people. Each one does their own special thing. And I think that kind of brings us to your next question, even, how did we get started and what did I do? And it had to do with where anybody could go in Rochester to learn to weave.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the colleges, universities did have majors or uh, elective classes. But of course, you had to be a matriculated student, that a housewife with a couple of kids didn't do it, or a retiring teacher or nurse didn't do it, or retiring businesswoman, which is who we get now, a lot of wonderful professional, other than teachers and nurses, which were our life source for years. Uh, but there was just not a lot to do because one of the teaching places was closing down. There had been classes at the Memorial Art Gallery, which is where the guild started, as an outgrowth of classes that were taught there. But they had, at the time we founded the center, just one class a week, uh, and could not accommodate a lot of people. But the Rochester Museum and Science Center, through people who were guild members, had developed quite a large weaving program. I think they had classes of 5 or 6 people, maybe 3 days a week. And that program particularly acted as a feeder to the guild. But
Right.
the Rochester Museum and Science Center decided that they could no longer uh, afford dedicated space for weaving. I mean, the space can't be used for a lot of other things. It's just too full and too crowded and too specialized. And they were going to put a charter school in the building that the weaving room was in. So we learned with a lot of coaxing and prompting that weaving program was going to close down. And we had a fair amount of notice on it, thanks to the custodial staff who asked me one morning, "What are you going to do when they close the weaving room?" And I said, "Well," he said, "they were in last night measuring for where the new electric outlets are going to go." So we realized that there wasn't going to be this feeding program for the guild and what was going to happen. And I'm told that I was practically, I don't know, wild woman about what are they going to do with the looms? What are they going to do with the looms? Uh, I guess because I realized once that equipment got gone,
Mhm.
what chance did any other weaving organization have to build up again? That stuff is expensive, you know?
And it tends to walk off.
And well, the looms not so much, without a lot of help. But anyhow, we went through had a class at that time that was very concerned and kept pushing me, "What are you going to do? Where are you going to teach when they close down?" Until the one guy in the class said, "Well, she's going to open her own weaving center." And I said, "Oh no, oh no, that's not going to happen." So I don't know, 5 or 6 of us decided we would have to open the weaving center, but the Weaving Guild would have to do it with
Mhm.
us, for us. So that's how it got started. And this little nucleus of people, each with his or her own extraordinary skill. It was just, I don't know, like in the stars. It was fate that we had 2 people who had business experience and knew how to keep books and knew what we would have to do to be financially able to exist. and we had a PR person who was good at getting the word out. And everybody had their own specialty, and mine was what the hell do we have to do to get our hands on those looms? Because I was the one that had the contact with it. And I also, being the teacher, was the focus for this group of people, small as it was, but who hadn't known each other before the class. So I was the common denominator of the group and the loudmouth and the one that had the connections with the museum in regard to the looms and that kind of thing. But it was, honest to God, it was a community thing. It was not a committee. Maybe had it been formally a committee, it would have been different, but it was just, you got to do this. This isn't going to happen if you don't do this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
somebody was
we
asking
did
about,
it. It
somebody
was,
was asking
we had
about
to convince the
funding.
museum, we had to convince the guild that it was appropriate for the guild to do it. And that was a whole nother side of it. But that's how it happened or why it happened.
Well, somebody's asking about funding. Did you get any kind of funding, like donations
Oh,
or?
I bet Denise asked that. Uh, maybe not.
No, that's Karen.
But
Karen
yeah,
LeBlanc asked that.
that's fair. Uh, the stipulation with the guild, when we said, if we do this, will you sponsor it? If we can get the looms, will you open a weaving center? Uh, was it's too chancy, we can't afford it. And the uh, museum wouldn't let us have the looms if we didn't come up with a reasonable plan, including a business plan, as to what we were going to do with them, where
Okay, yeah.
were going to support it. And we did have a guild member, an angel, who may have revealed herself a couple years from ago, but as far as I'm concerned, is still anonymous because I'm the only one she told at the time. I was guild treasurer, she had to tell somebody. Put up a seed fund of $2,500 to guarantee that we could get started, at least have enough money to pay the rent for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And otherwise, we had to have a business plan that showed it could be self-supporting, which we have been. We're part of the guild, but it's only in the past few years when we have been beginning to get grants that funds that we think of as general guild funds are put towards the weaving center. Don't want to surprise any of our members, but up till then, up to 2 or 3 years ago, none of our membership dues went to the guild, to the center. All went to all guild things, and the center is and was self-supporting.
Well, I have a question because somebody else mentioned this earlier. In 2016, you were selected as Teacher of the Year by Handwoven Magazine. So I was curious, how did that award change you as a person, you as a teacher?
Um, Not an awful lot. It was a big ego boost, of course. And then I looked around and said, well, it's my students that did it. It wasn't me. I've got more students here than any of the other teachers because I teach more classes. And sorry, those of you who are not taking a class from me now, but I get the best students somehow. That they were just all such wonderful people that they wrote such good letters that I thought, it's just the luck of the draw that I've got more people in my classes and they write better letters than anybody else does. So that's why I got it. I mean, I don't think I'm being, overly modest. I think I'm a good teacher, but best of the year, well, wow, I've got the best students. That's how you get to be best teacher. They tell everybody. Uh, but as far as it changed me or my life, I recognize that it could be a springboard or for someone who wanted to go into a more national picture.
Mhm.
It's a good entree, looks good on a resume. Uh, since I was happy where I was and didn't want to travel any more than I did, and didn't really want to write magazine articles particularly, it didn't affect my professional life much. That could have taken, it could have been a good thing that way. And I think other people, other teachers of the year have properly and thankfully from all of us used it as a springboard to bring themselves to our attention. But for me, actually, it in a personal level, individual level, almost did nothing except make me more self-conscious.
Mm.
That it
You seem
was
to have handled it well, though.
Geez, are these people now expecting too much of me? I'm teacher of the year. Good God, what do they think I'm gonna do?
No pressure, no pressure.
Yeah, so that still sometimes gets to me. This whole textiles and tea thing, the same. It's so nice to have people say good things and make a fuss over you, and oh wow, little hearts floating over my image on the screen. Wow, I must be somebody. But God, I've got to see him again, and what if I make a mistake? You know, it's like I've got
You're doing
somebody to
great.
live up to, only it's me, and I don't know if I can do it.
You're doing great. Well, let me ask you this. What's next for you?
Oh, that's a good question. And I'm happy to answer it. Uh, next, as far as teaching goes, is two Zoom classes that I taught some Zoom classes before, and it was kind of exciting. And one of them is designing with Fibonacci and friends.
Mm,
That I just love working with numbers. There was, I think I mentioned it before, a point where I toyed with teaching a subject other than art, and the subject was math my freshman year in high school. Algebra was like, I mean, it was wonderful. It was so orderly and all these numbers, and then geometry, my God, plane geometry, all those I mean, they were great. And then I realized that nobody else in the entire school body, student body, liked math. And I said, well, I'm not teaching that. Uh, but Fibonacci and math and numbers, uh, as just the pureness of them, appeals to me. And they just fit so well with weaving that and I hardly invented the idea of putting numbers together with how many stripes you do and that sort of thing. But I thought we can go a lot deeper than that. And Fibonacci is good, but everybody is doing Fibonacci. He's not the only number sequence, for heaven's sakes. So in the class, we look at Fibonacci because he's a good starting point, and most people are at least passing familiar with the name if they've read magazine articles about how many stripes you should use and how big they should be. But there are so many others, and there's so many other number systems in weaving where you've got to count things and space them out that the class is more about how to apply what you already know to numbers when you need a starting point. So they're not sacred, they're not the only way, they're maybe not the best way, but if you need a nudge to get going, what am I going to do with this? Uh, Using somebody else's number sequence for how many colors, how many heddles, how many threads, how wide it's going to be, how long it's going to be. I've got a list, I think it's up to 40 things that you need to be able to count, to have numbers, to make a piece of cloth. And so if you don't know what to do with all those numbers, you can ask Fibonacci or Elquin or Pascal or I mean, the list of number sequences go on and on and on, and they're just all so beautiful. Or you can make up your own, which is even better. The other class is op art, and the Stacy, Harvey Brown book just came out quite
Oh,
recently.
right, right.
And it's just magnificent book. And again, the numbers and the geometry and op art was in when I was learning to weave and to teach. And my middle school students loved op art, and they could learn to do mechanical drawing with op art and that sort of stuff. So I feel very comfortable with it. And people kept saying, will you teach? And can we use this book as a textbook? Do we have to? And I thought, well, I can teach it, but a lot of the book is for more shafts than most of my students have to work
Oh,
with. And as uh, inclusive as it is, I could see quite a few things that weren't included.
mm.
So I thought, yeah, I can teach this with a clear conscience that I'm not ripping off anybody else's uh, material. And it just sounded like fun. I hadn't worked with op art in a long time. So that is one class that I'm doing a few samples for.
Well, your social promoter here, Marianne Anzac, Anzac,
Yes,
she's put it on both the chat and the questions, so people can contact the guild and sign up for your class. So
absolutely.
hurry,
We
folks,
timed them, so there was time for them to sign up after this program.
hurry. Is there a limit how many people you can take?
Yes.
Okay, so you better jump in there, folks. Get that
So
class.
yeah, act fast if you're interested.
All right. Well, I have to ask some questions. There's this woman, oh my gosh, just bugging me. Her name is Denise
Yeah, let me guess. Yeah.
Kovnat. She's got a bunch of questions, but one of them I really like is who you mentioned some of your mentors. Who were some of the big mentors that you really relied on? She wants to know.
Beg pardon?
Your mentors.
Well, my
You
mentor was really Elizabeth Trudeau that I mentioned
okay.
earlier, and was very fortunate to know Helen Jarvis, also
Mm,
best known for her work with coverlets. But she would spur me on to do things. Uh, One day when I was sort of, well, hate to say complaining, but mentioning that I didn't have enough time to do something she was suggesting I do. Uh, she said, and I must have said something like I should have, 48-hour days or something. And she gave me some very good advice that I sometimes remember to act on, which was, no, you don't need 36 hours in the day. You need 20-minute days. And I was, of course, amazed. And she said, yes, you look at the list of things you have to do and you start at the top and you work on it for 20 minutes and then you go and work on 20 minutes on the next thing. And she said, things get done when you do that. And she's right.
yes, that's great.
Hard to build up a rhythm weaving in only 20 minutes, but
Well, what is your favorite weave structure, do you think?
oh, depends on what tea I'm drinking. No, that's a smart alecky answer. But it's almost that variable. It's I don't know. I'm especially fond of the quote unquote lacy weaves that are really not very lacy at all. But love Huck and Bronson. And I love the snowflake twills. Oh, they are so lovely. And any variation of the advancing twills and practically anything along the lines of what Marian Stubenitsky did in her Echo and Iris, just the way the colors are handled,
Mm.
the interleaving of two threadings. So Moray I like a lot. I just like them
You
all.
do.
Have probably done more summer and winter than anything else.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Stubenitsky because we have a question from Colleen Granny. She said, I think what she's saying is that she wants to do it, but she's worried it's too complicated. Your thoughts, she said.
Oh, well, I don't know how much of a background you need, but you need to pay attention. But no, I mean, if you've got instructions to work from, and if you know how to dress a loom, you ought to be able to do it. Just uh, maybe it's not good educational, pedagogical advice, but there's an awful lot of things we can do without understanding them. So if your goal is to understand it, then yeah, to really know what's going on a lot of different levels and why they're happening, her work is incredible. But to do it, just don't ask questions, follow the instructions, and you
Mm.
can do it and get similar gorgeous pieces, which is, I think, one of the beauties of weaving. You can attack it from any angle. You can follow instructions and just make wonderful things, or you can go off on your own and
Yep.
have as
One more
much fun.
question for today, and then we're going to have to stop. But this is from Linda Collins. She said, I understand that Rochester, New York has the largest population of deaf people. I did not know that.
Yes.
Do you know if there are deaf weavers in Rochester? She says, I am deaf and a weaver, and I'm looking for a good community.
Oh, yes. We have only one deaf student who has been with us for years and years and years, but we would love to reach out to the hearing impaired deaf community. Is a large community in Rochester because we have a school for the deaf out on the RIT campus. We will get translators for our guild meeting. And if it's necessary to have translators for someone in class, we will do our very, very best to accommodate you. The student we have now lip reads very well, so we don't do an awful lot of special accommodations for her, but we would love to, and also for people who are vision impaired. I've worked with a couple of legally blind students. It's possible, and we are open to a much larger community. Yes,
Who should she
to it.
contact at your guild? Who would she contact to find out more?
Uh, Send an email to our guild website, and it'll get shuffled to the right person.
Okay. All right, I am putting in chat the woven optical illusions pattern and design from 4 to 24 shafts because somebody, Anne Marie, wanted to know how to find, oh no, Jean Sparks wanted to know how to get the book. So
Uh-huh.
it's now in the chat. I can't believe it, but we have to stop for today.
What's fun?
It was. It's
And
so
I didn't
great
spill
to
my
meet
tea
you.
or
I've
nothing.
I've known your name forever,
Oh,
especially from that Denise woman. And
you too. In fact, and if it's not in the chat or questions or someplace, then I have failed as a teacher because I asked my class today, as close to tell them as I ever dared try to tell them anything, that if I didn't mention it myself, they really should put it in the chat. That the next person, well, maybe not next, but sometime for sure, the person to be interviewed should be you. You have
me,
contributed so much by hosting these programs that
I'm
we all
boring.
want to know more about you. How did you get this job? Why are you doing this? What is your background?
Well,
That
we're running
we'd
out of time
love
right
for
now.
you
And
to be interviewed.
actually, we were talking about it might be fun to do that at Convergence. I haven't told my boss
You
yet, so don't
would,
say
yeah.
anything, but that might be
Sometime for
fun.
sure.
Um, so anyway, I'm so glad you were here today. Thank you so much. Everybody has enjoyed it so much. This has been one of these shows where you just want to sit back and chat for a while. So thank you so much, Joyce.
Thank you, Kathy.
Joyce
Thank you all.
said if you want to get a hold of her, get a hold of the guild. And that's how you get a hold of Joyce and you can find out more. I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to try to sign up for a class. Let's just see, Joyce, if you're as good as everybody says you are. Thank you again. And we do want to
Do
thank
it. Really do it. Don't just threaten.
We want to thank the students of
I want you signed up.
she and her Weaving Fiber Arts Center in Rochester, New York. Somebody just mentioned they were there in July and they're sorry they didn't know about the center. But if you're in the area, go check this out. I think it's brilliant. And I wish our guild could do something like that too. It'd be wonderful. So thank you so much, students of Joyce. And thank you for watching today and all your comments too. We appreciate it. If you would like to sponsor an episode of Textiles and Tea, um, your guild, a group of you like these folks, or your business. If you have an event coming up and you want to say, hey, just a reminder, this is coming up, be a sponsor. We'd be glad to help you with that. You can go online at wespendie.org and pick a date and sign up. If you have questions, contact the office and they'll be glad to help you. So thank you all so much for doing that. We have Spinning and Weaving Week coming up this fall. Yay! October 6th through the 12th, 2025. Guys, it is the best deal in town. You get so much for the week. If nothing else, just the studio tours are so enjoyable. I love seeing how artists and their spaces and how they, set things up. And it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to do. Art Sparks has been such a success. You get anything from a lecture on how to do something. Some of them, they actually are doing things while you watch. Spinning and Weaving Week is a great investment. And the nice thing about it is that we have vendors and you're getting ready to make all those holiday gifts, right? So you get to see the vendors and see what's new with them, their new yarns, their new equipment, whatever. We've got panel discussions. We've got 18 thread talks. We probably have more than that now. My boss will probably change that. And they're all recorded. That's a great thing about it. I know we all work and you can't see it during the day, but it's recorded. You can watch it over and over if you want to go back and go, well, what did she say? It's a great deal. October 6th through the 12th. Be sure you go online and sign up and check out what you want to see when you want to see it. So thank you so much for checking that out at wespendie.org. If you've, I want to thank everybody for supporting Textiles and Tea, because when you donate or you join, this is the programs that you're helping. It helps us do Spinning and Weaving Week, Textiles and Tea. All the programs that we offer are through your support and donations and your membership. If you want to join, you can go to wespendie.org. You can also donate there, or you can do both. Wespendie.org. If you missed an episode, want to watch it with your friend, if you want to watch this one again, it was so much fun. You can watch it anytime you want on YouTube. You can watch it for 30 days on Facebook. Facebook changed the rules. So just keep that in mind. If you like watching it on YouTube, be sure you subscribe, because when you do, it will give you a notice that a new episode's been uploaded. And I think almost all of our episodes are uploaded right now. Next week, we have Ari Lee. She is an interesting artist who does a little computer as well as a lot of weaving. You're going to love her. Please join us. Hope you guys have a great week, and we will see you next Tuesday. Happy tea.